see Broadway's brightest live? Why Where can you see Broadway's brightest live? Why spend Thursday nights drunk in a dive? They're friends with Rye, and he's a Broadway guy. He's your Broadway and entertainment BFF. It's Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway. He's a bundle of joy and happiness. He loves being here for you. He's a theater nerd who will share a word with a Broadway star or two. Our guests will have you on the floor like Orfeh, Benanti, and many more. Rye Myers, the gay Ryan Seacrest, your Broadway and entertainment BFF. It's Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway. On Broadway.
How are you? Woo! Round of applause. That was the incredible theme song sung by Alyssa Ray from American Idol, composed by Jeffrey Schmelkin, and lyrics by Jay Brancato. So let's give a round of applause again for Alyssa and Jay and Jeffrey. Thank you. So it's been a hell of a week, as you know, with Broadway. Lots of exciting news. But first, I want to give a thanks to. Is this on? Yes. All right. Today's sponsor is Broadway Plus. We're giving away some awesome Broadway Plus swag. So they're our sponsors today. Thank you, Broadway Plus. They're friends of the show. For those watching at home, for those here, Broadway Plus is the go-to theater concierge, and thrilled that they decided to sponsor today. And for those who love theater memorabilia, I have stuff in here, signed playbills. So if you love signed playbills, we have a shit ton of stuff in there. Some great things from some of your favorite shows. So. Before we begin today's show, I have a great guest, and I'll bring him out shortly. I always do some Broadway news, talk about some of the exciting things happening here in the Broadway industry. I'm sure, as you saw this week, we had the Tony nominations finally come out. We've been waiting so long for it. Felt a little bit back to normal this year, didn't it? And the nominations happened. We're having it back at Radio City. It felt a little bit like, old times, thank goodness. But one of the things before that, I don't know if you heard this exciting rumor. So Into the Woods, as you know, is the New York City Center. One of the cast members posted, they weren't supposed to, they posted on Facebook that it's coming to Broadway for a limited run this summer. And it was originally supposed to be at the St. James, is the rumor, but now since unfortunately we're losing Mrs. Doubtfire at the Stephen Sondheim, now apparently it's supposed to go to the Stephen Sondheim. New York City Center was supposed to announce this on Friday. It's kind of made its round on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram, but if this is true, that would be very exciting. I don't believe, from what I'm hearing, Neil Patrick has to be a part of it. This is going to be a Music Man for a limited time. He's out on vacation, and a friend told me today that Heather Headley won't be a part of it. But so yes, I know. But Sarah Bareilles, everyone else is still a part of it. It's just a rumor, but you can say you heard it here first. And as always, the Tony nominations were this week. There were quite a few shocks, I will say. There was definitely some things I didn't expect. I have to say, I love that the nominators decided to actually go based on talent this year for once instead of what was popular. I thought, Funny Girl obviously did not get any nominations -1 for the incredible Jared Grimes. I thought that we would have seen at least the best revival of a musical because I thought it was 54 years since the last revival. These voters sometimes they just vote based on the fact that it's a popular revival or a popular person, and I give props to everyone who's in that show night after night. It's such a hard show, but shocked that it didn't get nominated. But I have to say, I'm glad that people actually went based on talent compared to what it was. But some other snubs, unfortunately, included Plaza Suite and Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick. But some great, we have over 6 Best Musicals nominated in this Best Musical category, which is exciting. And the one person I would have loved to have seen nominated for Best Actress is the incredible Gina DeWall who played Diana in Diana the Musical. I know everybody hated that show, but I loved it. It was one of my favorites. And I think Gina played Diana so well, and she would have killed as Best Actress. But and finally, I'm sure you saw the news this week of Jesse Williams. Pictures got leaked from Take Me Out, which complete breach of trust, but don't know how that happened. But you've seen, I'm sure, the pushback. And lastly, of course, we can't go without mentioning Patti LuPone. We saw Queen Patti. We had somebody this week who wasn't wearing a mask, and Patti went viral in true Patti fashion, telling them to wear the mask over the nose and get the F out if we're not interested. So with that was some Broadway news. Help me welcome my very special guest, the reason why you're all here, the incredibly talented Joey Contreras. Hey, Joey. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here and doing the show. You have quite the fan base here.
I know, I appreciate it so much.
Well, I'm so appreciated that you all came out as well. Welcome to the Broadway Makers Marketplace and supporting Joey and seeing the show. And some very talented people. Even if you were here, you know who they are, so I'm not going to say it, but we have some very talented singers here in the audience. Aside from Joey, we have some very talented people here, so I will just leave it at that.
Yes, they are talented singers. They will not be singing. You'll only be hearing me. But
which is still just as talented, and that's why I have you on the show, because I only have talented people. So as I like to say with everyone, how did you get started in the world of music and performing? Was it something that you would always want to do? Did you grow up in a musical household?
yes, I did grow up in a musical household. My parents were both musicians, so I grew up listening to a lot of music. They were in cover bands. So instead of kind of learning music through church or through like lullabies, I was hearing a lot of Paula Abdul and Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson, and so that's kind of the musical vocabulary I grew up around. And then I am from like the TRL generation, so Britney and Sync, Max Martin written music is just very much the backbone of who I am.
Amazing. And where did you grow up? What state?
In California, northern, near San Francisco, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And did you go to school for performing arts?
I did, yes. But I didn't. I don't know why I just said that.
Do tell. So you went to, what did you
I felt really reflex to say that I really did not.
I was like, do you not remember where you went to school?
No, it was not a music school at all. It was not like a performing arts school at all. No, but I did go to a boarding high school. And I
were you a bad kid, or was it just?
I was a theater kid.
Oh,
yeah.
I think of boarding school, and I think of like the bad kids. They get
a bad kid. I heard band kid.
Oh, band. No,
I was a band kid. I wasn't a bad kid.
I think of boarding school, and I think of the parents send the kids off to boarding school because they're bad. So.
Yeah, if I had heard that, I would have given you a whole little lie and tried to like spin it off into something. But no, I was not a bad kid, and I wasn't really a band kid, but I was a theater kid, and yeah, that's kind of how I landed. It was, it was a beautiful school, and it's something that I was very lucky to be to attend. To be honest, yeah.
And so your parents were very supportive of you in the musical endeavors and everything in between that.
Yeah, they've been so supportive and have given me a lot of opportunity, which has been great.
That's incredible. So how did you land here in New York City? What was the journey that brought you here? I know pretty much everyone in performing arts, New York is sort of where it is, New York or LA, but what brought you and landed you here in New York? Yeah,
it was kind of the natural, organic step. Went to a musical theater program for college, got a BFA, and I was at UArts in Philly. So I was on the East Coast, and then kind of the natural step was to go to New York. So, yeah.
Amazing. We love UArts. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so I'm familiar with the UArts. It's incredible. So, you recently returned to 54 Below, where you are no stranger to, on April 18th, I believe, for the show In the Works.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What was part of that show? What was it like, and what was it like to be back at 54 Below?
Yeah, In the Works happened. It was a great success. 54 Below is a iconic venue that I have performed at a lot in the last 10 years, but I've never done a headlining concert there before. I've always done, songs and popped in and guest starred and stuff like that. But I really wanted to do, I wanted to headline at 54 Below. So that was on my bucket list. I did that, and the thing that was really special about this concert was that a lot of people know me for a catalog of music. I have a lot of albums out there that people know me for, but there's also a bunch of book musicals that I've been working on that people don't know. And I wanted to use it as an opportunity to sort of give like 20-minute trailers of these few shows that I've been working on.
That's really exciting. And those who are here, did anyone get a chance to see his show? Amazing. Yeah. I felt so bad. I was away that weekend, but I wanted to see it. But I hope you'll be back again, I assume.
They want me back, good. And we'll see if the arrangement is good.
I understand that. Well, speaking of musicals you've written, I mean, you are so damn talented. You've written a plethora of shows. One of them that is really taken off in the industry is In Pieces. So let's talk about In Pieces, the musical. First, for those who may not know at home, for those here, what is In Pieces about?
Yeah, so In Pieces actually is a show that follows 3 relationships as they relook at their lives and during their coming of age years. It's essentially a memory play, and it examines those relationships in our lives that really were pivotal moments for you and shaped you. And some of them you end up spending forever with, or for a long period of time, and some of them they stay with you, but they weren't the people, they weren't your happily ever after. I always like this idea of how your soulmate isn't always the person that you end up with, but they leave such an impression on you. And the show really examines those relationships for these characters.
And I think we all have that in some aspect, whether it is a soulmate or it's people that come into your lives for a reason. Had to. You never know what you're going to get here at Live with Rye Friends. It's always a Broadway reference. Whether it's a soulmate or a friend. So I think that connects with so many people because everybody sort of has those connections and relationships. Now, that also turned into a film In Pieces. I understand there was a production company in London that wanted to record that. What was that experience like to have your show on the big screen?
Yeah, and before I tackle that question, I will say that one thing I think is also really interesting about In Pieces is that the show takes from a lot of music from my catalog that people know already, and those songs were really written as I was kind of going through my own coming of age years from my late teens to my 20s to my 30s. So a lot of them kind of really reflect and capture that kind of spirit, the energy, the angst, the emotions that you feel as you continue kind of growing up. And since the show really follows these characters as they grow up, I feel like it embodies that. So that's what's cool about kind of the construction of that show. And then I wrote some additional songs.
Do you feel like you've grown since, as you've written that show? Do you feel like you've grown in each iteration of that piece since you've been writing it from your experience? Do you feel like you've grown every time the piece is performed or you do that piece?
I think what's interesting about it is that now the way that the songs have been contextualized for this piece and then the additional music that I've written for it have really kind of made it a cohesive story that shows a journey of some kind, And then when the production company in London did their filmed version of it, what's really exciting about that was that In Pieces is still pretty, new. We launched the licensing rights for it at the end of 2020, and by 2 months later, this production company in London wanted to do their own licensed production, but they wanted to do a filmed virtual production. Virtual production, streaming productions are something that's very much a part of our landscape now of theater. But what was really unique about their version of it was that it was shot in a much more cinematic way. It was very hybrid in the sense that it wasn't like, they staged it, it was a proscenium, pro shot kind of situation where they were in a black box. they really were in this immersive setting that gave it sort of this cinematic feel, but it was also still live singing. So you like saw the mic and you could see that there was like still a live component of it. That was then, polished and edited and everything, of course, but like there still was this like live quality to it.
Well, I like to hear that, and I think that's really important because I feel like we see a lot of these shows or these musicals today that turn into live streamed or movies that they don't sing live, and I think that that's important. You mentioned about licensing and rights. I think that's an important topic because there's so many people out there watching, and people here who are recording their own music who it can be a big jargon licensing. Was this your first time dealing with licensing? And what would you say to a performer who is maybe has a workout that they're trying to get out to be licensed or wanting to have it out there past just being in their sort of breadth of their circle? What would you say? Because it probably is not as difficult as it sounds. And when I hear licensing, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds like a feat.
Yeah, and my journey, my career so far has been completely unconventional and not given by access from gatekeepers. I've created my own paths my entire career, and so this is no different. We are independently licensing this show. We did not wait for someone to give us permission to license it. We knew that there was an audience of people that were interested in doing this show, and it's been really exciting to see that there have been over 20 productions in the last year and a half of a show that's never had any commercial run that we're working towards. But it's been through the power of the music and the power of the connection that we've made with the audience. And it's exciting to see that, there have been productions in Australia, and there's one that's coming to Singapore. And I myself haven't even done my own production of In Pieces. So I'm working towards doing that. But until then, I'm excited to, give it to all of these creators out there who are taking it and creating it and making a home for it.
Well, and there are so many, and that's what's beautiful. There's so many avenues for this show to go in, and I love what you said about about gatekeeping and doing it on your own. It's in this industry especially, but I feel like any industry, there is so many gatekeepers, and especially I still feel like nowadays in anything you do, it's and to be able to break out and do that on your own, I feel like people are starting to do that more, and it's important because there is what I'm learning, and what I hear a lot of people say a lot is there is no rule book in this industry, in any industry. Just because you are a composer or you're an actor doesn't mean that that's the rule book you have to follow for the path. You went to school for acting, you only have to be an actor, you can't do anything else. Who says that you can't release your own music? You can't also produce, you can't also do this. And I think breaking out of that mold and continuing to do that stuff only, I think, makes us better people, but I think makes the industry better. And I'm sure you're learning a lot every day as you go, so I have to commend you for that. Let's give him a round of applause for him. It takes a lot of work to do that on your own, and to, not, a lot of people, and it's not in the bid, but a lot of people, unfortunately, wait for that opportunity, or, they let the gatekeeper sort of keep them back. And so you're going head first with it, and I think that is, so important to do, and yes, I commend that.
And don't underestimate what a social media manager does. I mean, a social media position, they have so many responsibilities. You may think it's like, oh, I'm just posting something. There's a lot of thought that goes behind a post, a campaign, all the different platforms, all of that. So shout out to all the social media managers out there. You got a hard job.
I was going to say, you have a social media manager?
No, I don't have a social media manager. It's me and my husband.
Well, I will second that, because as somebody who runs all of his own platform and sites as a working producer and host, I get it. Believe me, it's tough. So I have to commend you, and you're doing quite a hell of a job. You've got tons of followers, both on your shows, Instagram pages, but on your own personal page. So, I mean, it's incredible. So what does the recording process usually entail when you are making, a CD? I know now with In Pieces, was this also during lockdown when things weren't being live performance and stuff? How'd you manage that? That's exciting, but also must have been, nerve-wracking as well.
Yeah, I think In Pieces really was the thing that kind of, not to sound really dramatic, but saved us during the period of time in the pandemic when there was no light and no hope. There was, I'm going to do another shout out to Fabio Polanco, who at Kent State University, he was the one that on a random day in June or July in 2020 reached out and said, I really want to do this show called In Pieces. I had done a couple of readings and presentations of In Pieces years ago, and it kind of became a back burner project. And then the pandemic happened. I was actually supposed to go and workshop it in Denmark, I believe it was, in 2020. Clearly those plans did not happen. But Fabio had reached out saying, I really love this show. I would love to do it with my students this fall. And he was like, can I see the libretto? Can I see, I was like, sure, yeah. It was like, the show had been written, but it like hadn't been touched in a while. It needed to be kind of like zhuzhed up. And so I was like, ooh, like get notes on a page. Ryan was like helping me out over there. And it became suddenly like the thing that gave us something to do during a time where everything was just shut down and nothing was happening. And we didn't know what to do. And then, it became the gift that kept on giving, because once we had that and we were in rehearsals virtually with their production of it, like I said earlier, a lot of the songs already lived in previous albums of mine, but there were a handful of songs that didn't have recordings out there. So in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I would love to release, those songs. But then on top of that, we want accessibility and ease of producing something was also something that we really wanted to work towards. And one of those things that could be difficult is just assembling a band, getting a band together, recording the music, doing all of that. So Brian and I were like, why don't we, Brian plays 12, 13 instruments. He's a musician himself. We have a studio at home. We're very, studio savvy. But then we also have other musician friends who have their own home setups. What if we just record all 22 songs, all the backing tracks, so that when we do put the licensing rights out there for anybody who wants to produce this show, they can't get a band together, they can at least just, purchase that as an add-on, and it just helps make it even more producible. We had all those tracks. Then I was like, why don't I get some of my favorite people together to lay down vocals, create the highlights album, put that out there, and yeah, suddenly it was like, we blinked and it was 2021, and like, the album was out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and you've had some great names on the album. You've heard of it, Feldman, Ben Backhauser, so many people. You have your fan base here. I'll ask the fan base. I'm sure you all have heard In Pieces, the musical. What is your favorite song from In Pieces? Whoever wants to.
In Pieces?
In Pieces.
That's the one you haven't sung.
In Pieces, anyone? Which one?
Oh, with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, with him is in the show, not on the highlights, but it's in the show. Yeah. It's on the complete playlist that you can find on Spotify.
Love it. And how about
Same.
amazing. Well, that is so incredible, and it amazes me how somehow, some way, everybody found a way to come together because there's been a lot of people who recorded during the height of the pandemic, and it all came together and sounded so beautiful. And I have to I commend all of you for doing that, because it must have been a lot of hours, and so the fact that it worked out is great. And I would love to be a fly on the wall in your guys' home. You have all the music, between the instruments you play, and it must be one hell of a musical household. I love that.
Yeah. There's a lot of we make a lot of stuff, a lot of music there.
That is incredible. So how does one go about starting the recording process? They've just written their own song. They're brand new to recording. How do they go about getting the song they've written out there to the many recording places that there are? Spotify, Apple Music. Wherever the hell you get your music today, there's so many different places.
Yeah, it's a good starting point would be, I think, would be to learn Logic, learn a digital audio workstation, a DAW, that you can record into on your computer. It's not as intimidating as it may look or seem, and YouTube tutorials are really helpful. There's a lot of classes online that you can teach you the basics. That's one route that you can start if you have a song that you wrote and you want to record yourself. Get a good mic that's reasonably priced. There's a lot of reasonably priced options out there. And then, if there are producers, or the way that I started basically was when I came here, when I was entering my first album, I just looked at the liner notes and the credits of who recorded those albums. So there were a couple of musical theater songwriter albums that had come out previous to mine, and I just looked to see where they recorded, who produced it, like all that stuff. And at that time, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people recording at Broadway Studios. Let me go check out Broadway Studios, and then like see how much that's going to cost. That was an expensive option. But if you go the home recording route, you can really accomplish high quality recording at a fraction of the cost. And so yeah, I would say learn a DAW, get a mic, depending on a little interface, so you can basically put your piano or your vocals or your guitar into the computer, get a way to get your music into the computer. And then yeah, if there's a certain artist that you want to reach out to sing your song, slide to the DMs.
That's
Slide
the way
to
to
the
do it
DMs.
these days.
If you want to get somewhere, slide to the DMs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And check your DMs too, because I know a lot of, I know people send a lot of spammy shit, but check your DMs, because you never know who could reach out to you to collaborate, I would say too,
Yeah.
There's been times where I miss story replies of people who, maybe don't follow you, and you're like, oh my God, like 5 weeks later, and it's like, I didn't even see, I'm so sorry, I'm not ignoring you, it's just that, so check your DMs as well, if it's something that doesn't, because you never know, you could, get a collaboration that way.
Yeah, and then it's actually relatively easy to get your music on Spotify and Apple Music. There's a lot of distributors out there, DistroKid, CD Baby. TikTok just announced that they're going to be launching their own distribution platform. So TuneCore is another one. There's a lot of options out there.
Well, that's good to know. And so if you're a performer, you're curious how to record. I mean, you're hearing from one of the best in the business himself. So that's exciting. Well, you are going to be performing for us today. Tell us what you're going to be singing. This is an exclusive. Listen, for those here, for those watching, this song has not been performed live. This is the first time.
Well, it's been performed live, but not by me.
Oh, not by you. Okay.
Not
So
by
not
me.
performed by, first time performed by Joey Live, who wrote the song, right?
Yeah.
So this is your in for a treat. Tell us what you're singing, and then just make sure you take the mic with you.
Yes, I'm going to be singing Me and Mr. Popularity, which is a song from my show In Pieces. And in this moment, the character Charlie was just informed that he will be tutoring the popular kid in school.
Amazing. Well, let's make our way over there and take it away. I'm so excited for this. Woo.
Hello. Great. Dad got his ear pierced, he's 49. Unemployment isn't treating him fine. He tries on my clothes as if they'll make him cooler. Mom's still working on some lawyer case. She's never here. I'm forgetting her face, and I'm afraid of what Dad might take up next. Peter booked his next big role, bussing tables. He says it's a stretch for him. But me, surprisingly, I'm doing great. Because today, me and Mr. Popularity will be spending more time, you see, because he needs a tutor for computer science until the semester's end. And for me, this is the closest thing to having a friend. 2 weeks later, and things are neat. Sometimes he waves to me on the street, but that's only when there's no one inside. I could take it personally, but we're not hanging, just tutoring, and it's fine. I understand my role. But today, he came to me, it was kind of new. Asked if I wanted to smoke with him some night, and I said, well, I've never smoked before, but alright. Me and Mr. Popularity will be engaging in illegal activity. Guess he's tired of computer science, so now I'm gonna spend a night getting to know a joint and maybe a friend. Such a strange and new sensation. I actually having a conversation, feeling anxious and nervous, but he's incredibly calm. He talks about football and girls, he lives in such a different world, a life he seeks to protect. So I nod and I listen and learn as it suddenly starts to turn things you never expect. Seeing he's somewhat of a wreck, and that's something we can connect on. Dana listens to Little Wayne, Mom is stressed and going insane, and normally I would care. Peter's out auditioning, out there living the American dream. At least that's what they say. With me, refreshingly, I'm doing great. I'm appreciating every time I spend, 'cause I never knew back then that me and Mr. Popularity would be spending more time, you see, 'cause he needed a tutor for computer science, but that was way back then. Now we talk and laugh again and again, and really, I think him and me are possibly becoming friends.
Oh my gosh! Wow, Joey, that was incredible. That was incredible. What a beautiful. Another round of applause for Joey, everyone.
No, I'm not bad doing it live for the first time. I'm surprised that all the lyrics came there. I also gave I got like some allergies.
Oh, yes.
So like I had to option down a couple of times. I didn't do all the Andrew Marth Feldman notes.
No, it was beautiful. I'm sitting there listening, all I can think of is this is one of the next greatest songwriters of our generation.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Your music is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Your writing is done so elegantly. Really, it is. So I was just, I was just speechless watching. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So we're here at the Broadway Makers Marketplace. We were talking earlier. You were so excited to see this place. You had never been here. Has anyone ever been down to the Broadway Makers Marketplace? So this is a cool place. It's just celebrated 6 months for Broadway fans, by Broadway fans. I'm one of the programs that we do here, live with Rye Friends on Broadway, the Broadway talk show. But for those Broadway fans here or at home, we have one-of-a-kind Broadway items, from handmade items such as like magnets and keychains to memorabilia. If you've been in a Broadway show or you've done a show, you may even find yourself in here.
It's very cool. I feel like I could spend like an hour just like literally looking at every little thing because it's so cool.
It is so cool. So I recommend that everyone check it out. You can go stop during the show, or if you want to go online, also online as well. BroadwayMakersMarketplace.shop, store every week. BroadwayMakersMarketplace.store. I don't know where I get shop from. BroadwayMakersMarketplace.store if you want to shop online, because everything that's here is also online, and it's so cool, and we have programming like this. There's also a podcast that happens before me on Sundays as well. There's Broadway coloring throughout the week, and all sorts of the arts. And so I'm so thrilled that you're here, my guest.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. This has been really fun.
I'm so happy too. Well, now it's my favorite time of the show, which is Broadway trivia, and this is exciting. So how this is going to work is everyone here can play. I have 4 Broadway questions, and if you guess correctly, you get one of these awesome Broadway Plus tote bags. We love a good tote here in New York City, especially with the bags. We love a good tote. Audience at home is welcome to play, but it's, as I say to people, it's more for people that come out and play, because you've got to come here in person to play. So, all right. So first up, and again, you don't have to play. You're welcome to. I know the guest sometimes always gets like, you're welcome to. You don't have to. First off, what was the prior theater name of the current Stephen Sondheim Theater? So this was the prior name of the Stephen Sondheim Theater. Was it A? I give you a multiple choice. I know. I've been learning this the hard way over the last 6 months. I think I have to give multiple choice. A, Edward Albee Theater. B, Henry Miller. C, Walter Kerr. Or D, the Alley Theater. What did you say? Henry Miller. Yes, congratulations. There you go. Broadway goes to back. Yes, it was the Henry Miller Theater. in fact, if you stayed outside of the Stephen Sondheim Theater, which was the Henry Miller, that has all about it on the side of the building. I had no idea that it was called the Henry Miller. It's got very interesting, if you're a theater nerd like I am and you want to learn about it, on the side of the theater it talks all about it.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
actually.
Okay.
Before you finish
No,
the trivia.
go ahead.
I was sitting at a Strange Loop, which is, what theater is that? I don't know.
Oh, that's the Lyceum.
Lyceum, yes. And I was looking around, it was so beautiful, looking at the,
Yes.
the ceiling and everything. Are there any coffee table books that just show really beautiful photos of the insides of the Broadway theaters?
That's a good question. That's the oldest theater, that's actually the oldest theater on Broadway. I don't know if there's a coffee table book. I mean, I know that there's the history of the American theater from Jennifer Tepper. I have not read them. I don't know if there's pictures in that, but
Like really pretty
good.
photos.
Yeah, that's a really, what'd you say?
I was like, let's just,
Giving away her music.
yeah.
But it's a good.
Scrub that from the internet, that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
idea.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, I know there's Broadway Up Closer, but she does a lot of like the walking tours and histories, but no, I don't think there's actually that's good. Well, you're here first. It's copyrighted. He has the idea, so.
There's one called Broadway Theaters and History and Architecture that actually exists.
Oh, it does?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I actually wrote it, it's a plug.
Yeah. You wrote it. I love that. Well, I mean, they're
Coming out on Tuesday.
yeah, these Broadway theaters are beautiful. So, all right. Name one of the musicals that were not nominated for a Tony Award this year for Best Musical.
Diana.
Yes, Diana the Musical. Yes, thank you, Brian. Fabulous. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. What musical won the 2019 Tony Award for Best Musical? What Tony? What? Hadestown. Yes. Okay. Now, sticking on the Tony's theme, there's two answers, so either one is fine. Who currently has the most Tony Awards? What female currently has the most Tony Awards? It's tied between two.
Just say it.
Audra McDonald.
Audra! It's Audra McDonald! There you go. I think she's, oh my god, it's just on the Tony Awards website. Not, is it Julie White? It's one other person, or Julie Andrews.
I feel like we both won that.
Yeah. She's I was surprised to see, if you go to the Tony Awards website, they have trivia, I'm not making this up. She's tied, it's her and I want to, Julie White or Julie Harris, they both have six wins. But it's definitely a Julie, I'm definitely not making that up, but I was like, gee, I can't believe she's tied. But in my mind, it's Audra. Well, a round of applause everyone for playing. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah.
More trivia.
More trivia? Okay.
Yeah.
More games. I love it. Well, we have surprises in the marketplace.
We do.
Yes. Well, we'll do some towards the end, and then we'll give away some stuff in the marketplace. So I also was reading too that you also do a lot of coaching and songwriting and teaching classes and stuff. What is one thing that you teach that you give to students, like the advice that you give to students, but all this stuff, sort of the main thing that you come away with?
Yeah, I think this tends to be with a lot of arts and skills, but there aren't any rules. There's just tools. And what I like to do when I'm doing a lot of songwriting coaching is that I already know that it can be very vulnerable to play something that's undercooked, half-baked, an idea, or you are just stuck and don't feel like you know where to go in a pre-chorus or a chorus. And what I love about coaching and songwriting coaching is that it's a great exchange of ideas, but a love of music. And so I love that kind of energy and dynamic when I'm working with my students, but I also love to give a lot of exercises, a lot of challenges, a lot of things to shake up the way that you write, because we also as writers tend to go to the same places, whether it be melodic or harmonic chord progressions. And it's just fun to kind of see what your head is like on a different structure of song, or sonically, or and so I love kind of like shaking things up and getting the critic out of your head and just trying to like finish a song, because I work with a lot of people in various states of their songwriting journey. The one who's just kind of subtly curious, casually curious, and there's others who are, churning out a lot of music constantly and just are looking for feedback and that kind of stuff. So it's a big spectrum.
And another plug, where can if somebody wants to work with you, it's for the coaching, where can they go to work with you? Where does
Yeah,
the
you can-
go to you?
Again, sliding into the DMs is always great, but also joeycontreras.com, my website, through my contact form.
I love that. That's good to know. What is the process of writing like for you when you have a new idea for a song or musical, anything really? What is the process for you? Does the lyrics come first? Does the melody come to your head first? And is it one of those things where you're just walking down the street, it comes to your head, you open the notes in your phone and write it down? Or what's the sort of the process like? I mean, you must have probably tons of drafts of songs that you've written over your years or have had in your head.
Yeah, with the student just recently, we were comparing our voice memos because, on the voice memo app, they, if you don't put in a title, it normally says like new recording or like your location.
Right.
So my voice memos right now from this new phone, which I got maybe a year ago, it's like new recording 982, and I'm like just have 982 voice memos
Oh my God.
of just song ideas that have popped up, and it depends. They're either usually backdropped to the chaos of the city because I will be walking down the street and be humming and have a song idea, or they will be in the shower. So you'll hear the shower running. Those are I get more inspired not being by the piano, which is something I need to work on always because I feel like it's also good to train yourself to be able to churn out material, sit at the piano, and be, disciplined in that way as well. But
And I feel like all the best thoughts come to us in the shower. I feel like no matter what the ideas are, whether it's, I've had many of great ideas in the shower, which we all have, so it's always a good place to think.
a long time it was Thai food and whiskey. I would just order Thai food and whiskey, and I was like, I gotta get a song done. Get Thai food, seamless, whiskey, let's go.
That is, I've not heard that combination, but I love it. That is an interesting combination. So who are some of your current composers that inspire you, as a writer?
My tried and true is Max Martin, always. The famous composer of & Juliet. But actually more for all of his work with Britney, Kelly Clarkson, NSYNC, Justin, the list goes on and on, Jessie J. But
You're a big Britney Spears fan.
I'm a big Britney fan, and
You said in an interview, in fact, you wanted to be Britney Spears. That was your hope that you wanted to be Britney Spears.
Yeah, I'm trying to uncover footage of me doing a full chair routine, at a festival. It wasn't in my living room. It was paying audience.
Oh my God.
Got a chair routine.
Wow.
Very Britney. But yeah, Max Martin is always kind of in the back of my mind. But also Sarah Bareilles. I just love Sarah Bareilles so much. I love her music so much. And Jonathan Larson was actually a bigger influence on me than I really kind of realized until I watched Tick Tick Boom, which destroyed me in a beautiful and wonderful, exhausting way. But his music really did have such an impact on my style.
I feel like he inspired so many people, and I mean, Tick Tick Boom for me was an eye-opening experience too, because I did not realize, I had heard of the musical and I'd heard some music, but I didn't realize his story was so entwined with that. And so, I think it's beautiful to see that he has left such an impact on so many, and has inspired so many. And now, with the writer for & Juliet, have you seen & Juliet? Because that's supposed to be a musical people are talking about.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet, but I love the cast recording and the arrangements. The arrangements are key.
That's Is that what you listen for when you listen to a new musical? You listen to
For a jukebox musical.
What'd you say?
For a jukebox musical, yes, arrangements are key.
Yes. Is it a jukebox musical?
It's a jukebox musical, yeah. So you're gonna hear you're gonna hear "Baby One More Time" and "Break Free" and "Can't Stop the Feeling" and all those songs, yeah.
Okay, I did not. I thought it was. Well, I mean, I'm still excited to see it, but I thought it was an original piece. Okay. How do you feel about the jukebox musical sort of being what seems to be the go-to musical for a lot of these shows, both new but also we're doing shows about famous people as well? What's your feeling about it? Do you feel like if it's done right and it can hit, or do you feel that it's sometimes just a quick, easy way, money grab? I'm curious, and I'm not knocking any of the jukebox musicals. I'm just really curious.
I think it should stop, but there are some good ones out there. I think it should stop. I think at the end of the day, I think the idea of like a familiar catalog or a familiar movie title is not giving the audience enough credit.
Correct. And also, there's so many artists out there that work needs to be discovered, needs to be out there more, that when it's heard and it's more original, I feel like it's even more. I mean, I look, for instance, Six, you know, I mean, it's blown up to what it is, but prior to that, I mean, you know, nobody knew of Six. It was, you know, this original music, original storytelling, and it's blown up to what it is. And there's been several other, I mean, Strange Loop is also another one that the music is beautiful, and I do feel that there needs to be more original music supported in the Broadway world, but also there's theater in general, because it's, and even I was talking to you earlier about the show I'm producing this summer, a great composer named Jeffrey Schmelkin. It's an original piece of spoken parts that keep inside, and that's what contributes to it, is that everything's original, and, you know, there's nothing like it, you know, nothing like an original piece.
Yeah, I think that if we're going to continue celebrating upcoming musical theater writers, we should also produce their work.
I agree. Yes, I totally agree. So I guess. I'm going to do another trivia question, Michael. You can choose whatever the prize is for it, whoever gets it right. But this is another trivia question. What is the largest theater on Broadway? What is the largest theater on Broadway? The Gershwin. Yes, 1,933 seats is the Gershwin Theater. So Michael will tell you. You can choose a prize and
It's something Gershwin related.
Yeah, Gershwin related. There's so many. Well, I'm glad that trivia is such a success. You know, it's so funny because when I started this show, I wanted to incorporate trivia into it, and it's been great. I've had great sponsors that give great prizes, but I'm like, I feel like I make easy questions because I'm like, you know, and then and people, and it's okay, don't know the answer, or it's there's a lot, and then I'm always like, I feel like nobody knows the questions, and then I feel like, oh, I write this down, somebody's gonna know it, and no one knows it, and I'm like, am I picking hard questions? So I've learned that multiple choice is good, but I learned that people also like trivia, but I also feel bad because I'm like, you know, I'm like, it's so tough.
Are there any like script questions? Like is there like what is the line that Fierro says at like 61 minutes into like I'm like
I mean that's a good one. I don't know. I'm not that. Now I'll have to do some research into it.
Yeah.
Because I did last week. It was who does Fierro run off with at the end of the show in Wicked? Because you know that and people weren't sure that, but I don't know, it's alphabets, the Wicked Witch, or I guess you should say the Scarecrow because he's a scarecrow at that time. So it's, you know, it's.
That's looking at, you know.
Well, and it's interesting because, you know, you come across, I feel like throughout your day, you come across so many interesting things, just in theater, but in general, and you make a note of it. And I'm a theater nerd, so it's fun to ask, but it's also fun to find out too. I mean, in fact, I was going to do one. I was like, when we were talking earlier, I was going to do one about you. I was going to say, if everyone was listening, where was Joey born? What state was Joey born? Okay.
Do another toad?
Another tote, please.
I don't have another tote, but as I said, Michael has the prizes. So, you've written so many great projects, but do you have a dream project or a show that you want to write or work on? You've done so many of them.
That's a good question. Is there a dream? Brittany bio musical. Oh wow, that's a good question. I feel like, oh gosh, this is when I need to say, Joey, stop talking. There's a meme of Beyonce and the Beyonce self-title where she's like at the pageant and she's like, it's a very good question. It's a great question. I feel like that moment. Do you remember it? I feel like that right now.
This is what the show is here for. We have the wine, and this is great.
My immediate thought was, and this kind of goes against what I said earlier, but I, for a long time, wanted to write the musical adaptation of Win a Date with Todd Hamilton. And I really wanted to do that. And I think, so deep down, there is that. But I also really want to write the star vehicle for Shawn Mendes' Broadway debut. That's like also my dream.
Yes, I love that.
So
Yes.
that's what I'm putting out into Turnstyle and into the universe.
Well, we're definitely, I can see that happening. I love that. And Yes, I wonder when he'll come to Broadway. It's only a matter of time, I'm sure. So as we wrap up here, what is your current favorite show right now, on or off Broadway, that you've been enjoying, you love, you recommend us going to get tickets for? What's been your favorite?
All right, I'm gonna kind of adapt this question to fit what I want to say.
Please.
I am excited about Kimberly Kimbo.
Yeah, I am so mad that I missed that. I have heard every single person I have talked to who has heard that show, saw that show, has said that.
Yeah, Kimberly Kimbo really just, I loved it so much. It gave me that feeling as I was walking. I was like, God, that was so special. It was so amazing to see a new piece of musical theater that just was just made me happy and feel like a fangirl again. Made me feel like a musical theater stan again.
I'm so mad that I missed it, but I'm excited for it to come to Broadway. That's going to be great. Kimberly Kimbo, I love that. Well,
and lastly, Carrie Renee Fuller is giving the best local performance in 6.
yes, she is. I saw her. And she's incredible in that. And that show has grown on me. I saw it before COVID, like a month before everything shut down. And I was like, I guess maybe the night I went was a bunch of screaming teens, and I was just like, this is like, the music was great, but I was like, And then I saw it again. I won the lottery actually, and I really grew on me. Loved the show, and same with Beetlejuice. The Beetlejuice was also good. I saw it at the Rare Garden, and it didn't do it for me. The scenic design was great, and now I'm really appreciating the music. So it's interesting how shows grow. Those are two good ones, and I can't wait for Kimberly and Kimbo. I just actually went to the Atlantic for the first time last week.
For Bedwetter?
For Bedwetter, yes. And that was actually a very good musical. The music to that was very catchy, based on Sarah Silverman's life, the autobiography book that she wrote, and that I think has potential as well. So
My best fun fact about, I did not see Bedwetter, but Bebe Neuwirth is in that.
yes,
And I did Three Penny Opera with Bebe Neuwirth in San Francisco at ACT when I was like 12 years old.
Oh my God.
That's my.
And what was that experience like?
She was. I had a great relationship with her. Yeah, she at that time. I was like really into art history, and she also was really into art history. So she took a liking to me because of that.
Bonded over that. I love it. Well, as we finish up here, any final thoughts? Anything I didn't get to touch on that you wanted to say? This is about you, so I want to make sure you get everything.
I think importantly, like if anybody out there is watching and you're trying to figure out how can I support musical theater writers, I think that it's important to know that you can support them by sharing their music, buying their sheet music on their websites. That's really like my own kind of merch is my sheet music, and it's literally how I have a sustainable life. Your streams, your likes, your shares, and buying sheet music is a great way to support new musical theater writers.
I love that. That is so important. So go to his website, buy all the sheet music, and stream it. And that's really important. I think I was saying this earlier too. It's important to understand this to some of the creatives and musicians. Anyway, the biggest thing that you can do, I think, for us is to share or to repost
Yes.
or to download. It's something so small, but it does so much.
And not to go too far along, but like longer than we need to. But sharing, people trust their friends' opinions, and I did a little poll to see how people discover new music, and overwhelmingly, people discover new music by what their friends share on their Instagram stories. And I know that I do the same. Like when I see an Instagram story and someone's posting just even a Spotify screenshot, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go check that out because it was just put in front of me.
Right.
So yeah, shares are important.
Yes, they are. Well, Joey, thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause for Joey Contreras. I have wanted to talk to you for so long. I am so thrilled that you came here and were my special guest.
Thank you.
That song was incredible. Thank you to the Broadway Makers Marketplace. It's Michael. This is a round of applause again for Broadway Makers Marketplace. This is the place to be for all Broadway fans. I have some great guests coming up. Next week we have Maggie Stiggers and Spiro Marcos. They're producers, podcast hosts. We're going to be talking about their book, Dear Future Producer. The following week I have Annalise Scarpacci, who's currently Mrs. Doubtfire. And then the following week, which is Tony Sunday, I have Fergie Philippe from Hamilton. And then we have a Tony Awards celebration going on here. So it's going to be a great few weeks here every Sunday, 6 to 7, Broadway Makers Marketplace, live with Rye Friends on Broadway. I'll see you all next week. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. Tell your friends. Follow me on social media at Rye_Myers. Can't do the show without you all. So thank you so much and have a good night.
Thank you.
Right is live for my sisters tonight. Drunk in a dive, then with Rye. Broadway guy, he's Broadway entertainment.
There's a lot.